It's a Grunfeld, yes, exactly. And there we have it. And they go for the main central variation. Okay, very nice. This always leads to some very rich middle game positions.
Okay, the classical variation, you know, that was the first variation against the Grunfeld that I played as a kid, Peter. You know, it seemed so logical to me, and I guess it was also a favorite of Boris Spassky.
Yes, and of course it became very famous due to the match in Sevilla between Karpov and Kasparov. One of the lines inside is also called the Sevilla variation, but we see none of it. Dubov goes immediately for a sideline.
I've never seen this before, Peter, this early capture on d4 and the check on a5.
I think that usually it was like black for this line. So yes, it's also for me something completely new. Let me just even go back to the starting position. So that's the central classical variation against the Grunfeld c5 knight e2. The knight is developed on e2, protecting the d4 pawn and avoids this typical bishop g4 pin, because then white will have f2, f3. So after knight c6, white guards the center with bishop e3, and usually here we are seeing the move castles, and castle is the very big main line, or white can also try after castles the very aggressive h4, when usually black then reacts with cd, queen a5 check. That's the line from which I know this queen a5, but Dubov is Dubov, and he has his own ways. cd, queen a5 check immediately, forcing Arjun to take his time. Bishop d2.
Bishop d2 and queen back to d8.
Wow, okay. This is kind of a, well, I would not say draw offer, because it's black is black. Yeah, so black is at the moment trying to stabilize.
So he's forced the white bishop to reposition to c3 to defend the d4 pawn. That's the concept. It's definitely unusually placed on c3 for this variation of the Grunfeld, but he answers with bishop g4 immediately. So obviously we're still in Dubov's preparation. And interesting, so he provoked the bishop's transfer to c3. Now he's provoking white to play f3, Peter.
Yes, f3, bishop d7. I think this is already also on the board. So usually if this bishop would be on e3, we would be talking about very familiar territories. Yeah, this bishop on c3 is something special. I believe the bishop on e3 is better placed. On the other hand, with this queen a5 check, queen d8 operation, black has lost at least the tempo. And in this regard, then white should be able to make use of his bishop on c3. Yeah, so probably this is a rapid weapon. Yeah, this is also typical Daniil Dubov. I don't really believe him repeating this in a classical game, especially after he has shown this idea. But right now it's Arjun who is faced with a new situation, and he has to spend time.
It looks like he played something that is not the move castles. Yeah, he played queen d2.
Yeah, stability first.
So he's also stopping any potential like knight a5 moves with that. I wonder what is black's concept here, Peter. Like, he's not really in a good position to play the move e5 at any point to attack the center. He is not going to have knight a5, so... well, of course, Dubov sitting there doesn't know that his team is still going to be leading despite this loss, but that is going to be definitely some kind of compensation after this game ends.
Yes, and Dubov continues to suffer in the tournament. Yeah, this will be already his third defeat. He will be -3. Very uncharacteristic. Yeah, he's a very strong player and also a very good rapid player. It's kind of shocking.
Well, there is always the Blitz tournament to turn around in.
Yes, and basically what we are talking every day, that as long as your team wins, performs well, you feel like, okay, you have contributed with a sacrifice.
Yeah, well, board 1 is by far the toughest board, right? And it allowed people like Andrejkin, who could also have been board 1,
Yes.
play as low as board 4, and he has been very powerful on that board. So,
Yeah, Max Todlo, Artyemiev, all of them are scoring extremely well. I just feel like, this is extremely important. That's why we stay here. But on the other hand, Elementer, on the other hand, maybe also something to learn from how to win this position. But I believe that probably everybody is capable of winning this position. Who has like Juvenjun said, that Pengbo has a good level. Yes, I think that was just very nice.
It's a good enough level to have a 2660 performance prior to today's round. So, at this point you could just put him into the main lineup, I think.
Everybody's terrified of him already.
Yes. No, I think it's miraculous that in a way China is not leading despite starting with a +1 on every round.
Every round so far, yeah.
Because by the way, someone like a team like Elaine, they're kind of much more balanced, right?
Yes.
They don't have a super winning board 6, right?
Which is guaranteed, right?
Right, nothing is guaranteed. They're on a plus score. I think they had each of them had 2.5 out of 4 before today. So having a small plus, that's nice. Same thing let's say on the women's board, Elaine is also in a small plus. But yeah, starting with a +1 on board 6 is a huge advantage.
Yeah, also puts a lot of psychological pressure on the opponents, that they know that there is kind of bad news already on board 6, and the resignation by Daniil Dubov. What a performance by Arjun, and also by Daniil, that he swindled his way, but he ran out of time and then he couldn't finally find the right defense. Arjun used his moment immediately and finally went on to win convincingly.
Yeah, so we have a draw on that second board between Decade China because they exchanged wins.